Okay, now subsequently every 5 years we have to go and get it renewed. So let's say my expiry date is coming on this day, 6 months before the expiry, this revalidation process has to start. Okay, now coming to new trust. Now the word is very confusing. Some of you might be thinking new trust means a new trust which is just created. This is what you're thinking? What do you think about new trust? Please tell me. Here the government is saying, according to us, new trusts are of two types. You are there last 5 years, 10 years, but you never came to us for 12. You are new trust for us. Second one, you are just born, incorporated now. Okay, so genuinely just a latest, fresh new trust. So in the eyes of the department, both are one and the same. They are saying you are new trust. You never came to us. The previous one was already holding 12A and it has come. This one never had 12A. It is coming for 12A first time. Okay, now what is the approach of the government? If such kind of organizations, you will get so many of your friends who will say, I just started social work or I am doing some charitable work for last 5 years. I don't have 12A, I want to go for 12A. So what do you think we should tell them? So government is telling, we will test you for 3 years. Okay, we will give you a provisional registration. We will not give you a full and final. How am I different when compared to the previous one? That license was for 5 years, you have it for 3 years. Okay, that's called provisional registration. And the good news for you is, it is genuinely a good news. There will not be an inquiry about the genuineness of the activities. People who are coming fresh, we are assuming you to be a good person. Okay, so people who are coming fresh, we will give you a provisional registration for 3 years. We will not inquire into the genuineness of the activity. Now what is the fun in this kind of point? The idea is, so many NGOs were complaining, I just started my NGO, look at my business model, charitable model, it is so beautiful, look at the people they're all having such wonderful expertise, they all came together for a wonderful work, but my donor is saying you don't have 12A, I will not give you CSR, nobody is helping me, the team is ready, the project is ready, but nobody wants to give funds because I don't have 12A. Then the department is saying, based on the objects of your project, based on the proposed activities of your projects, we will trust you and give you 12A. That is the beauty about this. So we were all hearing about a lot of negativity. Look at the positive thing here. This is an opportunity given by the government. What is the opportunity? What is the opportunity? The new organizations, they are given 12A. Why? So that for them, there will be ease in raising funds. The bigger NGOs can give them CSR funds, the individual donors can give them money. For that ease, without inquiring, looking at your proposed activities, they are ready to give you 12A. But for how long they are giving this free 12A for us? 3 years. So once that 3 years is over, what are we supposed to go do now? Go and convert that provisional registration into normal registration. And now when you go and ask for a normal registration, the story starts. Show us the genuineness of the activity. Last 3 years we gave you. We allowed you to do whatever you wanted. Show us your compliances. Based on the compliances, they will give you a normal registration. But once again, the normal registration has a life of how many years? Perpetuity? Forget it. There is no more perpetuity. So the normal registration once again has a life of 5 years. Alright. But here they added one more point. Now there are, in the new trust, there are two types of trust. Okay, one which started long back, activities also started long back, they never had 12A. For them, simply we are saying, first we will give you provisional registration, then we will convert it into normal registration. Second type of new trust, it never commenced its activities. It is just incorporated. It is having its bylaws, registration certificate, memorandum. Just it is incorporated. Nothing has started. Okay, they have come for provisional registration. For them, they are saying within, once you commence your activities, within 6 months, you have to come and show us what you have done those last 6 months. So there is one more twist here. So we have to elaborate it little slowly. Later, those who are such kind of NGOs, if we have, we will do it in one-to-one after the session gets over. Okay, this point. Once you commence your activity, come back to us within 6 months, show it to us, all that. We will elaborate it later. So basically, we got an idea what the government is trying to do. Yeah, next one. Yeah, now when we were talking about this 12A and 12AB, simultaneously please understand, when we go for 12A, it is not necessary, we should also have ATG. I hope you understand that. Okay, there are many organizations which are holding 12A, but they don't have ATG. There are many organizations which are holding both of them simultaneously. So why? What is the difference? What is the difference? ATG is basically only for charitable organizations, whereas 12A is also there for religious organizations. All these temple, mosque, church who are doing religious activity, they are also exempt under 12A, but they cannot give ATG benefit to their donors because it is promoting religion, it is catering to a religious community. ATG benefit is not there. So now here the next slide is talking about all those organizations which were holding ATG should also come for revalidation. Just like how we discussed 12A needs to be revalidated, even this has to be revalidated. This is, it goes simultaneously, but the forms are different. There it is 10A form, here it is 10G form. The forms are different. So it's basically a different kind of revalidation. Concept is the same. But here one more point which came to our surprise, which will create inconvenience again, is every donee, that means you all, from 1st April 2021, if you are giving ATG benefit to the donor, that person is happily claiming it as a deduction in his return. He is saying he gave money to you, and he is claiming a tax deduction, he is getting a tax benefit there. Whereas you are saying I have received the money, but here the concept of two-way check is not happening. You have independently received the money, that person independently paid the money to you, in his return he is claiming. The government is losing, but how genuine was that deduction? There was no check on it. There was no two-way communication. So hereafter the government is saying from 1st April 2021, the donor, the receiver organization, that is all of you, you have to maintain a register of the donations received and you have to file a return. We all are aware about TDS, right? You make a payment to me, you are the payer, I am the payee. What do? You deduct, you file a TDS return. Once the TDS return is filed, it gets reflected in my 26 AS against my PAN card. So you are filing a return, I am looking at 26 AS and I am claiming a credit. There's a two-way check happening. But when it comes to ATG, this two-way check was missing. So now every receiver of donations who are holding ATG, kindly maintain complete details and furnish a quarterly statement to the government, just like how we were doing for TDS. Based on your statement, the donee will get tax deduction. So now this has become a serious matter. It is again, you have to establish all the details, keep a complete record. So we have to be very careful. The format and all has been prescribed. We have to see that. Yeah, this was about the furnishing of statement, same point. Okay, so now see, what is GKM Insight? My name is Gulzar Karishma Malik, so that is the shortcut for that. So what is our understanding of all these changes which have happened? So we are happy for the new organizations. Based on the changes I just told you, the government is giving them the benefit of having 12. But what about this concept of coming to the government every 5 years? Are we happy as a profession? See, I'll tell you, just because of the few black sheep in the NGO sector, everybody is tainted alike. Everybody is looked, with that glass that you must be doing something which is not good. This is the approach of the government. So when we approach the government on your behalf, asking for 12A, I'll tell you, they make our life miserable. In spite of telling, sir, I was a witness to their activity. You also come and witness their activity. They are genuinely doing this. They still think, no, there must be something wrong. That is the mindset that they have. In that mindset, only the paper will talk. So now our papers have to be very strong. Whatever question they may ask, the paper should talk for you. That kind of documentation, that kind of compliance we should have. And last few years, yes, this department, I'm sorry, on a platform like this I'm sharing, but it is an open secret that it is full of corruption. Without giving a proper bribe, it was very difficult to get a 12A registration for our clients. This is an open secret. So now that's the reason the government has initiated. They said this concept, the window from 1st April 2021 is going to be faceless. It will be online, where you have to upload the document, and based on your document, he will give you the 12A. I hope he will do that, because when we showed the document, they did not understand. The computer should show it and that person should understand. That's a challenge. Sometimes, more than the papers, the activity is approved, substance over form we say. That scope is not there, so we have to see how we will communicate through the online platform. So we have to be very careful in doing that. The challenges are there. You must have seen, when a person is saying his pain over the phone, we do not understand, but when he is there in his physical presence and explaining what happened, we connect to that person easily. So this physical barrier is going to create some problem, but let's hope for the best. Some of my colleagues from the profession, they are giving good feedback. They are saying that in the online, they are getting 12A orders, favorable orders. Without bribe, things are moving. But in Hyderabad, it is not yet started. Let's wait and watch. So now, how do we accomplish this task? Which task? Being ready for this new window, which is starting from 1st April 2021. Okay, so we will divide our work into two. Phase 1, Phase 2. Phase 1, preparation of documents. Phase 2, submission of forms. But when I am talking about Phase 1, preparation of document again does not mean simply a document, but it also means in the background, genuineness of the activity and compliance with various laws. Okay, I was bad. I didn't have TAN number. Now I have applied. It is there with me. I have professional tax. I have trade license. I'm complying with labor laws. I'm doing my payroll. I have PF, ESI. We can do it now. Okay, before we go, we can apply for all these licenses today. At least that's going to help us with the embarrassment. You can say, yes, we were not aware or we were not liable to those kind of compliances earlier, but now we have realized, we have cross-checked, so we are complying now. So this work has to be done. That is very, very important. So look at the next slide. Now, what kind of information are they expecting from us? Okay, the data submission goes in 2 stages. First stage is with the form. When we are uploading the form, there are some attachments to be given. That will go. And we all think that's the end. The second story starts when they give us a hearing notice. And hearing does not mean physical hearing, it is an online hearing notice. They will give a big list of 20-21 items. Please attach all this and send. This is how they are taking data from us. So what kind of data they are expecting? The first one is all the legal documents. They want legal documents from us, the bylaws, the memorandum, and etc. So what do you think we should be doing with respect to this legal documentation? Whatever we have at office, attach it and give it? No. We will check. What is that we're going to check? When we incorporated the society, those 7 people, are they still there? Or somebody, is left, or somebody unfortunately has expired. So if there is a change in the management, do we have adequate resolution that so and so person has retired and we have appointed this person? Did we submit to the registrar of society? Do we have an e-seva, me-seva acknowledgement for such submission? This kind of check we have to do. So management that time, management now might be different. We have to check that. Then your objects, when we incorporated, the objects were 4, but now we have 10 different kinds of projects, and some of the project does not fall in the object. The object is education, but we are into some kind of relief work which is not connected to education. Then what are we supposed to do? Amend the object. We have to again do the paperwork, pass the adequate resolution, submit to the registrar, do this amendment. So now when we talk about legal document, please ensure the name is correct. That agent of yours who did the incorporation ended up writing something, but on the PAN the name is different. Name correction might be required. Address correction might be required. The address in the document is different. The address in the PAN, in the bank statement, everywhere it is different. How are you going to satisfy the department? You do not have a proper communication. Registered office does not even exist. This kind of questions may come. So we have to check our papers very carefully. This is not just a paperwork which is a formality. Give your heart to it and see where the gaps are. Okay, this is a serious matter, I'm telling you. Now coming to modifications. Okay, all the modifications, when we incorporated that time the story was different. Now things have changed. So if there are modifications, everything should be in place. Self-certified documentation at least should be there for the modifications which have happened. Okay, then names of various institutions run with address. I'll tell you what happens here. When you're taking CSR funds, to the donor you gave a list of 10 projects at 10 different corners of the city. But unfortunately, when your auditor was filing income tax return, he is not aware about the various projects which are carried out by you in different name, different style, different locations. So he was just updating 2 or 3 projects in the ITR, and that is going to the government. But actually you have more than 10 projects. There is a mismatch again. So you have to check your ITRs, know what went there and what are you actually doing. Because in the last minute rush, there the utility does not check. No, it should be 10. How come the auditor is filling only 3? That utility will not stop the auditor. You have to be very careful there. So this problem may arise. Okay, number of institutions. Audited accounts for last 3 years. Here comes the catch again. Your audited financial statements, unfortunately, the small NGOs I'm addressing, have not been, grouped and presented properly. What do you mean by grouping and presenting properly? You are supposed to spend on the objects of the trust. What are the various objects of the trust? Educational relief, relief to the poor, medical, environment, sports, yoga, these are the objects. But if you see, there is an NGO, let's say, and it is having a lot of clinics for poor people across the slums. And they ended up writing lakhs of rupees as salaries. When the department is looking at that financial statement, he is wondering, under the name called NGO, out of 1 crore receipts that you got, 40 lakhs you paid salary, what did you do? But actually, if you see the background, it was not salary but the payment which was given to the doctors for running those clinics. That little presentation can save your life. Instead of simply calling it salary, why can't we say on the objects of the trust towards medical relief, payment made to the doctor? That scope is there. You should have that heart to present it properly. That is needed. How do you group your expenses? Do you call them objects or do you simply call it admin expenses? The person there is in a hurry to finish with the financials. He might end up classifying all your expenses under admin expenditure. Imagine your fate when you go for FCRA. There the things have changed. Your admin cannot be more than 20%. And actually it is not admin at all. It has to be grouped under relief of poor, medical relief, etc. Proper classification is needed. So on the face of the audited financials, these challenges will arise. You will not look like charitable, but actually you are charitable. Just because your financials were not drafted correctly. So this is a very sensitive matter. Then they are asking us income tax returns. Very important. Because that ITR 7 is the huge form that is there. Very meticulously, the government is asking for a lot of data. All that data, you have to once check last 3 years returns. Did I make some mistake in my returns? Did we not disclose correct information out of, non-awareness? You were not aware, you did not show. At least identify, make a note of it and keep it. This was missing in my ITR, it may create a problem now. That kind of check needs to be done. Then they are asking us details of members of the society. Along with PAN card, their ITR acknowledgement of the latest return file. So if a society is having 7 members, those 7 members have to give their ITR acknowledgement, that first page, ITR 5, which we say verification page, has to be given. Here comes again that myth, that fear. Some of the people, they think if I give this, the department may start scrutiny on me. Why should I give? That's absolutely wrong. Your PAN card information is already there with the department. Just because you are giving one paper here, you will not suffer there. But if you don't give the paper here, your NGO will suffer. So all the people should have the courage to give their ITR. There is no fear, no myth attached at all. Please don't be scared. They anyways have your data. So just give that ITR acknowledgement. No, I'm a super senior citizen. I'm a member in this. I never filed my returns. You give a declaration. My age is 80. I don't earn any income. I'm dependent on people. But the declaration should also be true. And we do not know whether what you're doing at the background. So you should say, there is no taxable income at all, that's why I haven't filed my returns. At least that declaration will save us. So this is very important. We have to counsel the members to give the paper to us. I'm telling you, they will take 1 week time. We are facing that. Just to convince them, I have to convince them. Out of all respect, no madam, this is how it is. Please give, nothing will happen. Then they will give. That accountant will not be able to convince, so be careful, it's a sensitive matter. Then annual report of the activities along with photographs. So here comes again an important point. In one of our clients' case who's running clinics, they asked for day-wise patient register to satisfy themselves. Location-wise, 4 clinics, 4 locations, 4 registers. Okay, this is what they are asking. Annual report with evidences, location and date. They want photographs also. Books of accounts, bills, vouchers, bank statements for last 3 years. And next one, details of donations and contributions received with full address, name, date, mode of receipt along with counterfoil of receipt books. Details of donations, last 3 years, how much donations have you received? They want complete details. Now why are they asking this? Do you all know this point called anonymous donation? What is that anonymous donation? Unknown donation. When the identity of the donor is not established, the receiving entity is penalized. You have to pay tax on that money received by you. So in your donations, we have such unknown donations. But your auditor was very kind. He did not identify it. He did not put it under anonymous donations. And he has just ignored it out of that attachment for you. Now the department is saying, I want complete details. So in your ITR 7, maybe you have omitted. And you must have, arranged for it, whatever it is. But now they're asking you to give complete details. So you have to establish who gave you money and what is their identity. Now comes the time. Next one. Then they are asking declaration under section 11.5 and 13.1c, which is to be signed by all the people, all the office bearers. What is this? 11.5 is nothing but a declaration saying that whenever you have some surplus in your balance sheet, that surplus you have invested in the mode which is given by the government. Government is saying put it there, put it there. There you have kept the money. You did not lend it to somebody or divert it somewhere. You have kept it safely. So all the office bearers have to sign that whenever we have surplus money, we did not divert it anywhere. We kept it very safely. That is 11.5. Now who has to sign it? All of them. And what happened to our NGO? 2 people are missing. Where are they? Abroad. Again comes delay. The paperwork gets delayed. Because we all know, see, the members might be traveling, the members might be abroad. How will they sign it? You have to send the document. Luckily, they are not saying get it apostilled, get it notarized in the embassy there in that foreign country. They are only requesting, okay, get it signed. Digitally, can I sign? No. Income tax people haven't gone that far. As of now, for this kind of declarations, they are not entertaining digital signature. It has to be signed with a witness. It's a statutory declaration. So comes the delay. You have to courier the paper, get it signed by them, bring it before we submit. Then 13.1c. What is that 1c? The services of this NGO are not utilized by the members of the NGO. The group which has formed this NGO, the core team, under the name Public Charitable Trust, they and their family are not enjoying the benefits. This society is purely for public. That declaration they want. Okay, details of donations paid out of accumulated income. Sometimes see one NGO donates money to another NGO. Can you do so? Yeah, nobody is stopping you. That NGO is also charitable. Same objects, your objects, their objects are matching. So that NGO said, please give some money. I don't have funds. My funds are stopped. There's a small project. There's a list of beneficiaries which are waiting. Kindly give some money. So what we will do, we will definitely pass a resolution. We will take a consensus and we give money to that NGO. You do the work. Government is saying fine, but inform us. Did you donate like that? Did you give money to someone else? Because see, when you give money to someone else, that bill is missing. When you spend money, you make a bank transfer, there's an attached bill. But when you donate to somebody, that bill concept is not there. So you need a proper paperwork. What kind of donation was that? Did you donate for corpus of that NGO? Or was it non-corpus? Or did you end up donating to a religious activity? You are calling yourself charitable. Under the name charitable, you are doing some other work there. That they are checking here. Whom did you give money? Who are your beneficiaries? Here you are saying charitable, but there it is actually religious. So they want this details also from you to check whether you are charitable or religious. See, you must be wondering what is the big deal. Both of them are having 12A. Yes, both of them have 12A. But religious will not have ATG. That is important. And second one, the court is allowing organizations to have mixed objects. But the department says whenever we allow them to have mixed object, there's a grey area there. You know, mixed charity and religion, automatically it will become grey. So to make their life easy, they're saying purely religious, purely charitable, you come like that. So my clients, they ask me, we want to do both. So we say we'll register two. One purely religious, one purely charitable. Let's not mix both of them. It's difficult to convince the department. So they are checking that there, it's just not a simple list. Then details of donations and then office bearers. See, look at the last point. This is the wording from one of the hearing notice that we received for a client. In that hearing notice, they are asking this point. Explain how expenses debited to the accounts constitute application for charity, giving details of major expenses from the last 3 years. So from the financial statement, you booked some expenditure there. You support it with a list. For example, you are saying scholarship amount. You booked the scholarship in income and expenditure. So they are saying you give us a list of students who are the beneficiaries along with their KYC. Otherwise, A, B, C, D, we have so many names in India. You can write any list and give. But how will that list satisfy the department? So that application form of yours will save you here. When you granted that scholarship, you did some paperwork. That paperwork is going to save your life. Okay, that's how they want you to go with the data. Okay, so already existing 12A orders, FCRA copy, all that we have to give to them for the existing NGOs. So, very important point, small things we miss. So please